Asenivusele maswahla amahle senivusele benkosilenhle nanamuhla kuloko lihlelo Embili kanye libito lami ngingiJohn ngakaphires isibongo kuyinfokodo maswahla amahle ukuthi siphinde sidibana ke evikini lesibili kuloko lihlelo Embili kanye sethemba nje ukuthi niphilile kuwo ke umnyaka lomusha ngomnyaka wanga 2025 angathi make usesemusha enivela ngoba umnyaka nje mase uhambile uhambe ke lamalanga lesewahambile ngabe sisengasho yini ukuthi musha already we have people that are speaking of certain things they have achieved whether small or big, but I know there are people that have already made some gains in the year 2025. And the big question is, ngabe wena wende ini ngathemba nje ukuthi awuphilile maswahla amahle ngingakangeni nje ehlelweni maswahla amahle sitawuthatha nje ukuthatha ke lithuba nanathi siluhlelo Embili kanye ukukhuluma kafishane ngempilo ya Dr. Bishop Neshongo lomunye webantu esikholelwa ukuthi badlaleke inzima lenkulu kakhulu kusita ke maswati ukuthi akwadi ke kuchubekela Embili uphilile washonga ushile ke emhlabeni wabekwa ke ngemgcibelo yona ke lona lesuka kuwo. We just want to applaud the social and economic involvement of Dr. Bishop Neshongwe as luhlelo Embili kanye. I know, for instance, there's a foundation that has been anchoring a lot of social and economic programs and this is the attitude, this is the spirit that we hope can be cultivated, that can manifest emaswatini lamanyenti ukuthi noma Bishop Neshongwe ahambile sifundzile lokunengi and naloku lebasifundise kona maleka kwendile emhlabeni nanathi ke we can still continue to do and to duplicate many of his works while he lived. May his soul rest in peace, and we do hope that his legacy will continue and some of his activities and programs will continue. Kanti ke hlelweni maswahla amahle namuhla sitawukhulumisa la indzaba nebantu labasha ikakhulukati ke esigabeni sekucala ke kweminyaka lomusha umnyaka wanga 2025 we do want to hear the voice of young people masikhulumisa ke ma statistician ayasitshela ukuthi ke youth unemployment rate in the Kingdom of Eswatini is about 56 to 58%, which is quite a big number for a population of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Yini ama challenges bantu labasha lababhekene nawo and ukuthi singabambisana njani ke silive ukuthi uqala lo mnyaka babe nawo ke ma breakthroughs and some overcome ke some of the challenges that they are facing as young people. We do have an organization yebantu labasha that is known as the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Eswatini. Lekulibandla ke lebantu labancane labakhulumisa nje dona ke tindzaba ukuthi bantu labancane noma ke bantu labasha bangabambisana njani ke noma bangaphumelela njani ke ekwendeni ke noma kube baba ngama meaningful and strategic partakers in the economic landscape of the Kingdom of Eswatini. I do have two gentlemen in the studio with me right now who are visiting us just to elaborate, just to sort of speak into the issues that are affecting young people and what they as an organization are doing. Ngicela ke kwavusela ke machanga sekudla sami la kunabonke wakamotha lo deputy president wayo le organization mfulana kubingelele kuphethuba kuvusela eMaswati.
No, siyabonga sivusele babukele emakhaya ikakhulu bantu labasha lamhla sidele bona impela.
Kakhulu Mr. President, and thank you so much once again for coming. Kanti ke ngale ngeshare maswahla amahle kuna Allen Lloyd Junior Hamusokwe who is the head researcher in the organization. Hamusokwe, thank you so much for coming through, my brother. Here's an opportunity to say your greetings to the nation.
Thank you so much for inviting us. I hope this is going to be a very productive conversation.
Of course, thank you so much. And I think I've already alluded to the fact, Bonke, that it is essential even for us as a program to host young people, you know, considering some of the challenges that are faced by young people in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And in particular, the issue of unemployment, poverty are big issues that need to be addressed from across all structures in the Kingdom of Eswatini. And we are grateful to have an organization that is coming up to raise the voice and to make contributions towards some of the issues that the Kingdom of Eswatini is facing. And just briefly, just give us a background about your organization.
Thank you very much. The Youth Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization. It's an association, a business association. So us as leaders here were elected into the position. So every 3 years you will see new people saying that they are president of the youth chambers. And that's what we believe in, because I think we have built so much leadership skills just being part of the organization. And then also we are currently working with the municipalities. I think we are fully establishing the 4 municipalities across Manzanito, Mbabane, where we have chapters there. So the chapters become the implementing wing of the organization. So we deal with the policy nationally, but when it comes to the programs that are implemented in the municipalities. I'm not sure if you want to add anything, Alan.
I think also We sort of represent now the sort of youth in business. You do find, for example, when youth participate within business, they have problems in terms of, I guess you can say, quote unquote, bullying. So we are the organization that formally, properly represents the youth. So if the youth have problems, they can be able to communicate to us. And then because we are an organization that operates nationally, it's easier for us to talk to the different institutions to try and have the problem sort of solved. So we look at it as if we try to sort of protect the youth in business from bullying.
Yeah, and I've already made my introductory remarks to the effect that there are
Yes.
challenges faced by young people. You know, I don't know if these are my sentiments sitting here or those of other stakeholders. Do you, as young people, believe that there are quite a number of challenges faced by young people, in particular in business?
Yes, I think I will just go through some of them. I think but I think the main also problem is, I think the youth, there was lack of information really of what's going on, where the opportunities, where the country is going. So I think the first thing that we sort of wanted to actually just clarify to the young entrepreneurs that actually the country has a plan. The country has a national development plan, and of course there are industries that are also booming in the country. So not everything is actually said as they might think. So I think us creating the SME Startup Toolkit, which Alan I think will elaborate more on, that we just wanted to make sure that the data is with them first, before they even go engage any institution. Just understand what's going on nationally, understand the different initiatives the country has actually signed, the different treaties, and then from then you'll be able to go there strategic and understand, get what you want, but strategically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you have a membership. I think Bonke had mentioned the fact that you are elected into office by the membership for a period of 3 years, you know. And I think the membership has raised concerns in some of your meetings to say, this is what's happening. This is what we would like you. Like they give you the mandate to go out there and address some of the concerns that young people are having or are facing in business or in entrepreneurship. What are some of these concerns that young people have, Lloyd?
I think the three biggest problems are lack of access to markets. So it becomes hard for you to be able to, when they do start a business and actually now finally get to the point at which they have a product. The biggest problem now actually comes in trying to actually get that sort of product sold. That's one of the problems. So there have been a few initiatives that we've been updating the youth including the Ingelo sort of certificate that SWASA has recently been able to launch. These are different initiatives that were sort of, spoken about by organizations like us, explaining that it becomes hard for the youth to be able to get their sort of product within the retail shops. And the problem was the standards. Next is access to finance. It becomes very hard for you to be able to sort of, get finance. And some of the problems we noticed aren't as visible as you may think. One of the problems is that we don't understand, the youth doesn't understand what a credit score is, as well as how to de-risk themselves. So this is another problem that we sort of identified. Another problem ends up being just, in support. That when the way youth, I guess people look at youth in terms of business, they just expect the youth to have everything under control and know all the sort of regulations in terms of tax, in terms of these other organized requirements. So now we sort of saw that these are sort of the key things is the lack of access to markets, a lack of financing, as well as lack of support. That ends up becoming the biggest problems. That at least if we solve these three problems, at least now other problems will tend to be solved.
I'm happy you guys are in office and you are the health researcher. We need to speak to the solutions now to these problems, of course. And I think one of the challenges we are facing when it comes to organizations of your nature is the issue of membership, Bonke. It's typical. You find an organization that say we represent young people. But when you look at the membership, when you look at the constituents, a lot of young people don't know about this organization. They're saying, these guys call themselves, and I'm not saying they say that about you, they say, they are the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry of Eswatini, and we don't know nothing about it. How do we become members of this association? Who constitutes members of the Youth Chamber of Commerce of Eswatini? For you guys to be saying, we are the voice representing young people, who forms part of the membership of this organization?
I think if I can go to our database, I think currently we're closing to 400 members. These 400 members, these are young people who already started something. These are young people who are already, it's said that they're operating informally or formally. because also realize that, when you go nationally, the informal sort of opportunities are not spoken about. It's like people should switch quickly to formal. While we have discovered that in the informal, that's where the young person learns the entrepreneurship skills. That's where he can take the risk without him being sort of bending his hands. So I think we have seen that we have to grow our entrepreneurs from that informal perspective to the formal, which now they're able to be legitimize themselves, pay taxes, and actually be legit. So I think that we're planning to increase the database, but I think from our perspective...
Sorry, just to interject, Bonke, you say you've got about 400 of those, and I'm sitting here, I know there's thousands of young people who want a sense of belonging, I know there's a lot of young people organization in the country, for instance, the Eswatini National Youth Council is one of organizations that's reaching out through rural structures as well, urban structures and the likes, But I know there are young people who are yearning to be part of an organization to come and make their contributions, to raise their voice with the leadership of young people in business, How do we integrate those into the structures or into the membership of the organization?
I think, as you said, I think we know that the youth, they come to town to do the stuff, but they go back to the chiefdoms. That's where they stay. So I think we are really excited about the decentralization policy that the Minister of Tingudla is coming with, because we know now that the Tingudla Council, they will have the funding, the thing that will at least make them operate like the city councils. So to us, that will give us leverage when we go to engage the youth in that sort of chiefdom geographical area. So I think now this year we'll be moving towards them, because now at least we know that they also the structures they have help also from government, which gives us a lot of optimism moving forward.
Yeah. It's 2025. What is the one thing that you would like to see change for young people in the Kingdom of Eswatini?
I think so we as much as we have taken up leadership within the organization, are still youth. What I think is something that we notice whenever we interact with different stakeholders is that when we sort of cry out, I want people to remember that after we come out the positions, we will still be experiencing the same problems that we sort of are trying to advocate for. So I think one of the biggest sort of cries that we're looking for is like creating some sort of a difference in terms of how we sort of deal with youth development, that now let us not deal with it from like a random point of view. What I mean by that is just call random youth from different places to one particular sort of workshop to tell them, now let's actually get youth from groups of youth from different places, that let's get all the different youth from Manzini to come together so that we can capacitate them from the different wards. We have to try and sort of create the sort of youth development initiatives according to the sort of local government structures, so that there can be a lot of sort of support at the local sort of government level, so that at least the youth in a particular municipality can wake up and think in his mind that, okay, I actually have a plan, and that plan was actually created and supported by my local municipality. So I think we're trying to push now more local government initiatives, because we feel that those ones are the ones that will be much more sustainable, and also ones that we can be able to sort of monitor and evaluate, so that next year we can be able to improve instead of now recreating the wheel next year again.
Yeah, let's talk to issues of strategic partnership. I know there are a lot of organizations that government has mandated to deal with issues of commerce and industry in the country. We've got the Minister of Commerce and Industry itself, and to the extent that we also have a wing within the ministry that addresses SME issues. We've got, for instance, the youth fund, the youth revolving fund. They are there in terms of finance issues, and we have got the Eswatini National Youth Council that are all dealing with some of the issues affecting young people. It would be easy then to sort of like start duplicating, or reinventing things that are already there. How are you working closely with these people just to make sure that the services and the capacity they have feeds and speaks into the issues that young people have?
Thank you very much for that. I think what we did last year was we really encouraged the leaders of those institutions to be able to invite us when they are forming their strategic plans. So we can see a point where we know what Youth Fund is planning. We can call, we have access to the CEO at any time. So at any time also he has access to us. So that engagement is happening much more frequently. So it becomes hard for us not to know what Youth Fund is doing, for an example. So I think the relations we developed last year, just lobbying different stakeholders, the ones that we know that young people knock at the door looking for opportunities, we make sure that we understand their plans internally. So at least when they move their plan yearly, we can actually know where to show the young person, oh, your fund is here, this is how you can access their money, and this is how they've decentralized their services as well. So I think just make sure that we engage the right stakeholders, that we know that young people knock in their door in.
Sisehlelweni Embili kanye kanye Maswati lamahle sikhulumisana ke la nebantu labasha namuhla sithi arise Eswatini youth and claim your future. Kunengi lokubhekene ke nebantu labasha ke eveni la kaNgwane kakhulukati ke ngemathuba emsebenzi nekuthi labo ke labasebhizinisini ema challenges lababhekana nawo ke angafanani nema challenges labo ke labasebakhulile ke businessini lababhekana nawo. And I think when we come back from the break, these are some of the issues we want to speak to say are young people being treated differently to people that are already grown up in business. And we shall take a quick break and come back in a short while.
A show where we interview inspirational young professionals who are making a real impact in their industries and reshaping our world. This is Young Climber.
My dream and my mission is to be a tangible example of a dream realized. You don't choose where you are born, of course, but you decide where you end up.
Our conversations spark ideas, fuel ambition, and elevate your career path. These are the stories that change your perspective on life, conversations that shape entrepreneurs and move careers forward. If you are serious about your career development, you can't afford to miss this show. Join me, Tabelo Dlamini, every Tuesday at 6:30 for Young Climber, where every episode could be your next big breakthrough.
Siyana Maswati lamahle ke ehlelweni Embili kanye kanye sikhuluma ke la nelibandla ke labantu labasha lelithiwa ukuthi ke Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry Eswatini. Sikhulumisa ke indzaba ukuthi abantu labasha yini lebangakwenda kulomnyaka wanga 2025 kusukuma nabo ke badlale ke inzima lebonakala ke ekuthuthukiseni noma ke kuba ngama partakers in the economic landscape in the kingdom of Eswatini. There's an intriguing thought that keeps coming back to my mind, you know, and it has to do with how young people see themselves, you know, when we say Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Eswatini, you know, it could also sound like young people still believe they are young, like they still need to be babysitted with some of the things. Do young people see themselves as adults? Because there's categories to being young. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm still young, although because there are people that are older than me, but I cannot act young because I'm no longer a child, honestly speaking. And when we talk about issues of young people, you know, we are talking about a bracket of, say, maybe age 18 to age 35. Do people that are 30-year-olds in this country see themselves as serious contributors to the economic landscape in the kingdom of Eswatini, or they still feel like we are still youngsters, you know, we are still gonna just cry, and maybe if they hear us, you know? Do young people see themselves as grown up and as people that can make a meaningful contribution in the economic ecosystem of the kingdom of Eswatini? And do stakeholders in the same vein see young people as grown ups that are ready to contribute in the economic landscape in the country?
I know. Thank you so much for this question. I think this is something that to a lot of people might seem simple, but in reality is very complex. So, for an example, what we notice, or even us as youth, we notice that what happens with the youth is that when they come out of university, we are exposed to a lot of things because of the internet. We watch a lot of videos. So we create these plans mentally and say that this is what we're going to do. Now, what we're not taught is what's actually going on in the country. So where we aspire to go and what exactly is going on in the country are two opposite poles. So what happens when you graduate all the way till you get to around 30 is you now trying to understand exactly, okay, what my goal is and what's going on in Eswatini, and then trying to merge the two. So it's only when you're around 30, 29, 30 that it actually clicks and you understand, oh, this is how things work, or this is how things work. So I guess there's that situation where young people usually feel entitled But as sort of life starts to go until they get to 30, they start to notice that no one's really coming to help them. So they need to actually stand up. And then now in response towards, you know, the other stakeholders in terms of looking at youth, they look at youth as old people. They just expect youth to exactly have enough money. It's always, so I guess that's one of the reasons that we constantly try to let people understand that these are youth. When we talk about youth, imagine your child. That's youth. Your child being helpless and not knowing what to do. That is youth. But we can't now only support, I mean, you can't only support your child because we are a lot within Eswatini. So we need to be able to now sort of understand that when support comes, it can't just come to your nuclear family. We have to now spread it out to the other sort of youth that will now influence your children to be able to be much more productive.
Mr. President, I'll come back to you in a short while. I think I'll give you 9 out of 10 in the first part of the question, you know. And I also want to challenge you to give us a solution to that, you know. Because I think the reason why, for instance, perhaps we are facing a high unemployment, youth unemployment in the country is precisely because of that mentality that you just defined, you know, in terms of creating a virtual realities, you know, to say, perhaps if I see this and do that, you know, young people grow up too late. You know, if young people are going to start seeing reality at age 30, where does it really put the country? You know, there's a lot of influence from social media, and how can we deal with that? And I think coming back to that concern that you raised, you know, how can we correct that going forward?
I think these are some of the conversations that us in the organization constantly have, in the sense that, like, okay, now that we understand the reality, how then do we move from here towards a solution? A conclusion that we came to was that the problem has to come from the community support. It has to start out that the moment, let's say, a youth graduates from university, that's when time for the community to actually step in. When I graduate from university, let there already be a local community program that is already waiting for me to enter, so that I can now start to understand exactly how the municipality works, how's the policy structure set up, what exactly can I do within the municipality, what are the problems, what are the opportunities that I can be able to. So at least if we can start out from every youth, understand their area, what problems, what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of their sort of environment, at least that's when now youth can begin to alter their sort of perception of reality. Because what ends up happening is that the youth ends up going through life and doing through trial and error. Not a lot of youth actually make it and understand what's going on. A lot of youth end up falling by the side and then getting exposed to a lot of problems like I think the mental health, drugs, as well as these gangs problems. So I feel that we need more initiatives at community level, and it has to be done in collaboration with the community. So the parents have to understand that it's not simply just taking your child to sort of a university and you finish there. No, you have to wait for them when they come back so that you can try and integrate them into your local economy, because we feel that ends up becoming the biggest problem.
Yeah. There's this other part where Alan Lloyd said, you know, stakeholders look at youth as mature people, you know, and he made a classic example to say, look at youth as you are looking at your child, you know. And I think this now speaks to some of the barriers to entry in business, you know, that young people are facing. You know, they are being looked at as adults, when in reality, you know, they are at an elementary stage, you know. What are some of these barriers to business that young people face, you know, almost at a similar scale with full-scale business or multinational corporations?
I think the cost of business, you know, from the licenses to registering a business, you know, to the rental space. I think the incubation part is I think that's the most critical one of all of them, where we lack the incubation sort of decentralized, because, you know, RSTP can only take probably 50 entrepreneurs a year. That's maximum. Now it means that we need more of that incubation RSP has. Let it be decentralized to other regions. Let it go to as far as the Tingudla Center, where if you are running a business, usuka last and you just in the first stage of your business, you can go in Kundleni, set up your small, there's a small incubation, maybe some small incubation space inside the Nkundla Center, so that at least from then there's less cost of running the business. We can now focus on the product and focusing on being competitive when it comes to pricing.
Yeah, we cannot keep on lamenting the situation without actually raising our voice and,
Yes.
and calling on the relevant stakeholders, perhaps even including the relevant ministries to address the issues of some of the concerns that are barriers to entry affecting young people, you know. As far as licensing is concerned and some of the concerns that you have, what would you like to see change, you know? I know, for instance, that if you are looking for a trading license, you know, whichever scale you are, a trading license, whether you are starting out in business, if it costs 2,500, it costs 2,500. And the business that's running at a multi-million scale will also pay 2,500 for the same trading license. What would you like to see change in that regard that can benefit young people?
I think
I'd like to sort of add a small bit there.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people tend not to be able to sort of realize is that long time ago, business was much more easier to set up and start running because a lot of the prices were low. For us youth coming out today, everything is expensive. So us not even being able to sort of have our own job, let alone have some sort of support already as it is, that's a major problem. So even as people sort of go on, they should realize that a youth starting a business now is much more expensive than a youth starting a business 30 years ago.
Yeah, you had an opportunity when the toolkit was launched, and there's a toolkit that we will just speak to shortly. And you met the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, you know, and I think some of the concerns are there in the toolkit. It tries to, the toolkit perhaps tries to address some of those issues, you know. You had a conversation with the minister. What are some of the issues you raised with the minister? Eswatini youth would like to see if they are properly represented. What did you speak about with the minister concerning some of the challenges that young people are facing?
I think first of all, just here mentorship. I think that was the first thing he just highlighted to him. There's no mentorship. So to us, we then know we went to lobby the Chamber of Commerce, which is Eswatini. Fortunately for us, the Vice President, Mr. Andrew Laru, paid for our membership as youth chamber. Officially, we are members of Eswatini. So it's that membership. It's that membership that gives us access to the mentors down at Business Eswatini, which we hopefully this year we can design a nice program with our young entrepreneurs so that at least that entrepreneur in manufacturing, small scale, can now be attached to a mentor who's actually doing big scale in Matapa. And I think that's the first thing that I was able to, I guess we're able to highlight to the minister. And then of course it's the licensing fees, which are very high for the SMEs. So I guess to us now we understand that's policy. So now the MPs have to come play a role. So now it's just us understanding the structure of how now we can lobby for the right youth-led policies. I think also that's what we're able to mention to the minister.
Yeah, and I know when the official opening of Parliament takes place, you know, you get to attend on a ceremonial level, you know, but giving you an opportunity now, and I know a lot of members of Parliament watch this program, you know, and a lot of high government ranking officials also listen to this program, you know. If you were to get an opportunity to lobby, to speak, to make your request, you know, from a legislative point of view, what would you like to see change, you know, that parliamentarians can possibly raise up in the House of Assembly for debate to say young people have these concerns, and there was a discussion on national television, and the head researcher raised these points, you know. What would you like to raise, you know, that parliamentarians can possibly note and maybe take up for debate in the House?
I think really there has to be an intentional, you know, push towards developing our inclusive, sort of vulnerable communities within our society. That is also including youth specifically. So what I mean by that is that let us create actual policies surrounding these vulnerable people so that we can actually now be intentional. Because, you know, the reason why these people are still vulnerable is because we don't have policy backing them up to protect them. So I think it's very important that we become intentional, but also let's try and, you know, do something that's wild. Let's actually try and intentionally invest within the youth, you know. Let's be intentional. And I'm not saying in terms of, you know, PR stances as well as the paper and talk so nice about, because I guess we actually know the difference between a public relations event as well as actual policy that's striving towards. So I think now we have also started educating a lot of youth about this policy formation and how policies are sort of created. So we'd really like a much more youth-centered implemented policies as well as, intention from the sort of policies that, powers that be to try and sort of stimulate more youth engagement, more youth entrepreneurship. So I think it's more towards the youth focus to try and de-risk them from the sort of current environment that they're in right now.
Sehlelweni Embili kanye kumbeke sikhuluma ukuthi emalungu eParliament ayalalela lo hlelo njengoba ke sikhuluma kodwa ke lokunye lokufuna ke kwendiwe ke abantu labasha kubuyela le etinkundleni labaqhamuka khona bahlangane nalaba ke laba abakhethile lokufaka ekhathi ke lona ilunga leParliament bucopho nendvuna yenkundla batifake letindzaba njengoba ke bangemalunga ayo lenhlangano vele tihambe ngalabantu labasha kuqhamuka le etinkundleni kuze ukuthi kubonakale ukuthi inkundla ngenkundla nakithi labantwana bafikile batifaka letindzaba ukuthi sicela umthetho lo tasivumela ukuthi kumbe kusebenta kwethu emabhizinisini sebantu labasha ke kube kanjena and that can only take place coming up from a grassroots level lena ke etinkundleni sitagunya mathe sibe sichubeke nehlelo.
Hey you!
Yes, you. Have you paid your TV license?
Did you know that by paying for your TV license fees, you will be complying with the laws that govern television possession, in particular the Swaziland Television Authority Act of 1983 and its regulations? It is a legal obligation.
Paying for your TV license can have a positive spin-off as the money collected from TV license fees goes a long way in assisting Eswatini Television Authority procure appealing and relevant content to broadcast on the channel.
So now, these fees also increase purchasing of local content from independent producers, which helps ensure that the arts and film industry in the country is well supported thus far, ensures the creation of jobs for eMaswati. The payment of TV license fees goes a really long way in such endeavors as well as nation building.
A TV license costs 180 emalangeni per year per device, and for other accessories such as a decoder or njinja, it costs 50 emalangeni per device per year.
By paying for your TV license,
you will be doing the right thing.
Sehlelweni Embili kanye sikhuluma ke nabantu labasha amaswati lamahle nekuthi ke ngutiphi ke tingcinamba noma kumbe ama challenges lababhekene nawo labangafisa ke kwabona kumbe aba resolved kulomnyaka wanga 2025 angeke abe resolved like entirely in 2025, but there has to be some movement. When we talk about youth unemployment, we are talking about a major issue that has your social and economic connotations to it. When young people are unemployment, when they are idle, what do you see? And I think I made just a quick analysis a scam,
Yes,
and
yes.
a lot of the culprits there, the accused, they range from age 18 to about 22, and it says something about issues of them being in need of means of living, But let's talk about what needs to change in 2025. You will hear shortly after His Majesty opens Parliament, there will be the national budget speech by the Minister of Finance, and a lot of commentators will say, yes, this is a pro-poor budget, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
But I think the big question is, do you young people feel like the national budget accommodates and speaks fully to the needs and the challenges, even the opportunities of young people?
Yes. I think from our perspective, the money looks enough just coming from government. It looks like if the money goes to, for example, I think the different ministries, you can see that, for example, if it goes to education, the major wage bill for education becomes the salaries for not the service itself. You know what I mean? So I think when we become intentionally with the money going to spending in the service delivery than actually paying the officials. So I think there has to be a balance of how government does that, in the sense that we cannot be paying people to deliver a service, but there's no money to pay for the actual service. So I think that's the first sort of, if we can try, the minister try to look at it when he gives the ministry manuals, okay, how much of the percentage goes to actual the savings and how much does it goes to actual paying the
administrative fees.
Yes,
of
I
course,
think
yeah.
that's the, because the figures look really promising. Every year we see increase in the budget, the amount of money being spent towards the country. But now internally in the different ministries, where does it go? I think that's where the ministry is supposed to find out for itself. Like, okay, this year we gave you this much money. How much you do? I think the KPIs. I think we are also not sure what are the different KPIs being used by the different ministries every year receiving the budgets. So also I think the KPIs are supposed to be public information. So at least because it's easy for us to know, because we interact with the institutions. The institutions are giving us services, so it's easy for us to see if actually the budget is working to some perspective, even for the average citizen. So the transparency in just that, the KPIs of what is expected from this ministry receiving 30% of the budget education, for an example. That's just an example. So I think from us, I think we really want to be intentional with how then the programs are designed in the ministries to actually provide services to our people.
Yeah, and let's talk about young people assuming full responsibility for the problem. You know, I know a lot of people will say government has to do something, you know, and I agree with that. You know, there are certain things our government has to do, you know, in terms of creating of employment opportunities, you know, not just for young people, but generally for the citizens, you know. But I think young people also have to stand up. They need to rise, you know, which is why our topic says today, Eswatini youth, arise and claim your future. What can they do in 2025 to make a contributing towards reducing the unemployment numbers in this country?
I think first change of perspective is of the utmost. Mindset change, I think that's what the different youth organizations have been calling it. We constantly talk to youth and tell them that there's no difference between a general and a foot soldier. The only difference ends up becoming responsibility according to a particular goal. So even you as a citizen understand that there's no difference between you and the government. The only difference now ends up becoming responsibility both positions have towards each other. So as a citizen, especially if you're a youth, you have to be able to understand that you are the developmental accelerator. You see all of those plans that, you know, are talked about from national level. We youth have to be the ones who actually realize those things. And after we sort of do it, we can be in a position to say that this doesn't work or this works. So I think like a short answer is that the youth have to be able to understand that if development is going to come to this country, it has to come through our hands and no other way.
And no other way. The issue of mentorship, you know, I know a lot of young people are ambitious, you know, and because that ambition is stimulated largely by what they see on social media and so on and so forth. They see people living large and say, I can do this, you know, I can start a business, I can do this, you know. But there's a lack of knowledge, you know. Young people starting businesses that are not knowledge-based, you know. They simply saw something on social media and they say, I can also do this, you know. I think there's an opportunity. I'll promote this on social media, you know. Let's talk to the need for mentorship, you know, coming from across all structures. I know there are government bodies and non-governmental organizations that are doing this, you know, but also from a family level, you know, what do we need to do to help young people, you know, in terms of mentoring them, you know, our church structures and everything.
I think one of the sort of problems realized just on when it comes to just a young person is financial literacy. We have a big problem with financial literacy to a point where, you know, youth don't even know the reason why you save money. So I think and we.
What do they want to do with money? Just spend it.
Yes, you know what I mean. They have no reason to actually even save. So I think, and we know that the country already, through the cooperative structure, they call the SACCOs, where, you know, the youth can come up in a structure and start saving on their own without even involving government. So I think already as it is, the opportunities for us to be organized on a security level as young people and start saving our, because, you know, the money that they're getting from youth fund, it's a loan. They can do the same thing with their SACCO structure and loan each other the money that they're actually saving. So it's not money coming from thin air. Also, the money is coming from Ministry of Finance, which is coming from the public coffers. Yeah. So I think them understanding that government is just an adult, them themselves they're micro. So just understanding the relationship between them and what's going on there, that what government is doing is just doing it on a national perspective. You can do it on a security level.
Yeah.
That's what I think we we always argue with Alan that hey, a lot of people see sort of development on a national perspective. We see development on a Sikoti level or a ward level, where actually now are you supplying anything in that shop? Before Mbabane Mall, are you selling general dealer yakho? Because that's the informal. In fact, one of the companies that we started, it's AgriPacks. We package rice, minimum and cooking oil. So we had issues with the big retailers. We're like, okay, seems we are not fit for that game now. But the general dealers, we were supplying over 100 shops of the general dealers, and there's less barriers to entry in the informal. And that's the best way to start your business. So I think in that perspective, maybe Alan, you can add.
I think I just...
No, just a quick one because we need to close. You lamented the issue of access to markets, you know. We live in a digital world, you know, and I know, for instance, even the Kingdom of Eswatini has a lot of international trade agreements in place. You know, do young people know about this, you know? I think the latest and the biggest, you know, is the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, you know, that's created access to a market worth billions of people, you know. Are we talking to young people about these opportunities from a digital perspective?
Yes. Yes, I guess that there is a lot of, I think, information that's out there that if young people actually sort of reached out, they'd be able to sort of understand. Yes. But we started to notice that the problem actually trickles down from the adults down to the young people. So if the adults don't understand what the preferential trade agreements are, then the chances of their child understanding it are reduced. So it's really important that, you know, even in terms of financial literacy, we found out that really it's the adults that have a problem with financial literacy because they didn't understand the importance of teaching their children why to save. And that's why now when we find the youth, it becomes hard for us to be able to understand. So I guess the information is there, but then it has to also deal with, you know, our cultural norms as also in terms of family to be able to understand the importance of understanding each of these different sort of preferential trade agreements so that we can actually start sort of interacting with it.
Thank you so much. Yes. And I think I need you to say this as precisely as possible. What is the Youth Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Eswatini saying when it says to young people, arise Eswatini youth and claim your future?
I think we want to go. I think last year when I was got a chance to be part of the opening of Parliament, I heard the King, His Majesty, saying that his dream is to see the GDP increasing. I think 3% to him is already a lot. So I think as a goal, us as young entrepreneurs, our goal is to actually increase that GDP to a point where His Majesty actually shocked that, hey, who are these people increasing my GDP? So I think that's what we want as young people to show. Because I think that's when you actually are sure that poverty is decreasing through the GDP actually increasing.
With the number of young people, I think that is possible. Yes. If young people were to arise, certainly that GDP would increase. If we're talking about 58% of young people that are unemployed, and if we get a larger number of them contributing to the economy, then certainly that will happen. Where do people find you, especially young people, if that need to interact with you?
I guess we always try to make ourselves available according to the sort of, you know, people that we represent. So we are everywhere in social media. I think we're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. But we're also in Manzini. That's where the head office is. We are at the revenue offices stationed at the regional administrations, Manzini offices there.
Hamosoko, thank you so much for coming through and for sharing the information and the insights that we've already shared. And we wish you all the best going forward. Bonke, thank you so much, my brother. And as president, I think we need to request and pray for you to keep on pushing the agenda to help young people to arise and to claim their future in this country.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Sisehlelweni Embili kanye Maswati amathi sibonga ke lithuba lensiphelona ke ukuthi ke siyikhulumise lenzaba yebandla bashithi inzaba lesithatha ikhulumisa la ekuqaleni kwalomnyaka vele ngileto letikhombisa lokho ukuthi sinenshisekelo ukuthi lomnyaka mawuphela sibeke kubonakala lokuthi sibambisene ekukhulumiseni letindzaba nje sikhuluma kahle ke indzaba yemaphakelo sethemba nje ukuthi nematiko ke lafanele atawuhamba abuke lokuthi how do we help young people also be partakers in the economic cake or in the economic landscape in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Jehova kasigcine amaswati amahle sibonane ngalokho dakusiphilile nisale kahle.